Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. Welcome, Alan. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We have a wonderful panel discussion today for you. My name is Stuart Jones. I'm the president of the Middle East Institute, and I'm really honored to welcome all of you, and especially our distinguished guests today. Obviously, this week is springtime in Washington, which we all deserve and have earned the hard way. It's also IMF World Bank Week, which brings many leaders from around the region and all over the world for the meetings at the IMF and the World Bank. And it's always a highlight for us at MEI because we get some really wonderful visitors to come and speak to us. And today, I'm really honored that we have His Excellency Mohammed Yusr Barniya, the Minister of Finance of Syria, and His Excellency Dr. Abdelkader Husriya, the Governor of the Syrian Central Bank, and of course, our good friend Wael Al-Zayat, the Executive Director of the U.S. Syria Business Council. The conversation will be moderated by Charles Lister. As many of you know, MEI sponsored a study trip to Damascus back in November, and Pete Dortle's here. He was on our trip with us, and I see some other folks who joined us, but that was a tremendous visit for me. It was the first time I had visited Damascus in 32 years. I like to visit Damascus every 32 years, but this time was really, this time it was really special because of the excitement of a new government, of the, of course, the withdrawal of the Bashar regime, and one of the highlights of that trip for me was meeting Dr. Abdelkader Husriya one evening, and he outlined to me his plans for the central bank and indeed for the financial model for Syria. And of course, coming from Dubai, coming with the extraordinary credibility that he has, you know, it gave me talking points when I came back to Washington that what's going on in Damascus is the real thing. I did not have the opportunity to meet with His Excellency, the Minister of Finance, Barniya, but same thing. What these individuals are doing to rebuild the infrastructure, the financial infrastructure of Syria is absolutely extraordinary and unprecedented in the world. And so, again, it's such an honor to have you here today. We wish you the best. I can't end my introduction without saying a special shout out to Jay Salkini, the president of the U.S. Syria Business Council. Jay, we're so honored and delighted to have our partnership with you from the beginning. You've brought a lot of these ideas to us, and the strength of your organization is a great asset in our partnership. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much, Stu, Ambassador. Jay, great, as Ambassador Jones said, great to have you here, and thank you so much for your partnership. And of course, thank you so much to our esteemed guests, Finance Minister Barnier and the Central Bank Governor Husriya, for being here. It's an extremely busy week, so we're glad that you could take some time out of your schedules for this public event. And especially to have both of you here together, it's a really great opportunity. So we're very excited, I'm sure, all here to hear from you at this, you know, both exciting and daunting time for Syria's future. As we were talking about upstairs, you know, everything's happening all at once, and you have both opportunities but also huge challenges ahead. So hopefully we'll have a great opportunity to discuss all of that today. I wanted to just begin with a very kind of basic question, but perhaps it might be the most difficult one, which is really just for both of you to start with, and I'll come to you Wael afterwards to reflect on it, but maybe beginning with you, Finance Minister, to discuss, you know, your reflections on your first year in office. What achievements have you managed to achieve? What challenges have you faced that perhaps were unexpected? And what are your kind of projections for the next year? And I come to you first because you've just released the Citizens Budget, which I think is certainly in Syria's context a unique document, something approachable for the public to understand the finances of the country and where things are going. So please, let's begin with you on, again, looking back on 2025 and forward into 2026.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all of you to attend this discussion. We inherited a system, very weak institutions, very low capacity building. Financial system is not functioning. I mean, they're not playing the role of intermediary at all. Public finance is corrupt. As I said, very weak institutions. No transparency, nothing. And now we're trying to build. I mean, it's a huge challenge, in fact, to build infrastructure, to restore basic services. And at the same time, we don't need to go back to monetary financing. So a big challenge for a Ministry of Finance, how to be able to achieve, to meet the demand of the Syrians, at the same time, make sure that you don't have monetary financing that impact the stability of the currency, stability of financial systems. So we end up 2025 have surplus in the budget, something that we are not so proud of, but nevertheless, it's a good signal to show a prudent policy, to show also a discipline in our public finance. I always ask, how come you have a surplus and you have such huge need for infrastructure and basic services? We want to show that we are committed to fight corruption. We are committed to build trust with the public. We are committed to have highest respect in terms of managing the public finance. 2026 budget, now I think we will end up having perhaps as projected 1.8 to 2 billion dollar of worth of deficit. We intend not to use monetary financing. We intend to use the real mean of financing through issuing bond and sukuk and so on, to make sure that to establish a standard that never been in the previous government in the last 30 or 40 years, where printing money is the only way to finance budget. No, we are very keen to make sure that we have a prudent fiscal policy. Our focus on social issues, education and healthcare. Now, the large part, for the first time ever in the history of Syria, our spending on education, healthcare, and social services exceed spending on defense and security for the first time ever. Even in 2025, we spent on social services and education, but this year it's very clear, close to 40% or 40-something% of the budget is allocated to healthcare, education, and social services. And that's a clear message that Syria, despite the great need for security spending, we are keen to show that our focus as any respected government on education and healthcare. We have increased the wage bill almost 4 to 5 times. Now I could say 80% of the public service receiving a decent in relative terms salaries. Some of the certain profession, their salary increased 4,000 times. Some of them 2,000, 3,000, and at least 470% increase. Sorry, I mean 4%, 470% increase for the least wage. We have increased the minimum wage from $17 to $110. I know the demand in the street, they want more and more and more, but nevertheless, you need to you increase the wage bill, you increase the spending as much as you are able to collect in terms of revenue. We are facing so many challenges as a Ministry of Finance, from lack of trust between the ministry and the public and let's say the civil society as well, and trade and industry, Chamber of Commerce and Chamber of Industry. There is a lack of trust, huge. So we decided to build that trust. And that was my first mission. The first day in my office, I met with the business community to explain our direction and so on. Now, I think the trust has been rebuilt, but not as what we wish for. There's no single law, there's no single circular, there is no single decision that we have issued without public consultation. There's no single committee or working group that we have created within the Ministry of Finance without involvement of from the business sectors, from the academia, from the civil society, and also from the media. So we want to make sure that everything we do, it's really engaging and partnership with everybody. So we are optimistic. Despite the challenges, we are optimistic. What we have done, if you compare it with a post-conflict country, it's a miracle. I'm not talking about a vision of, or a statement from a minister. No, look at the economists, look at the report from the IMF and the World Bank. No. What we have achieved, we are not claiming that perfect. We have not arrived yet. Still, we are far away from our goals. But nevertheless, we are heading to the right directions. And I think we need to build this partnership with our business community, with the civil society, with our partners, and with the American. We are counting a lot on US to change. When I came here last year, I mean, I've been attending the World Bank IMF meeting since 2002. I did not miss, not as a Syrian and my previous jobs. But when I came here last year, I said, if I want to, one wish is to make sure that every single American change the mind about Syria. I want to take some bill and next day you forgot about the 60 or 70 years of Syria. So we are optimistic. We are counting on our Syrian here and we are counting on our partnership. We are counting about to be transparent, credible policy, transparent policy, and we have nothing to hide and we'll achieve our goals. Please invest in Syria, come to Syria. We are very optimistic. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for that excellent introduction. And over to you, Governor, to reflect on some of the same things. I assume sanctions is a significant challenge that's been on your desk for a while.
Sure. Thank you. I would like to thank the Middle East Institute for organizing this event, which is very important to explain and to seek support of the stakeholders inside and outside. Actually, when I was sworn in office, the baseline we had at that time, the central bank has four main functions: monetary stability, financial stability, payment system, and being a fiscal agent of the government. In terms of monetary policy, we had central bank, no monetary policy, because there was major liquidity issue, and it was a paradoxical one, liquidity issue. Even if you inject money, it doesn't solve it. The liquidity moves in straight line rather than circular. No printed money. Even the regime was not printing national currency. Show me any regime in the world, any government in the world, okay, which does not print its own national currency, just paper, okay? They didn't. And we had a financial system in which the banking system was suffering from systemic crisis, which started with the 2011 war and was accentuated in 2019 with the Lebanese, okay? And the central bank, rather than resolving this systemic, rather than resolving the individual challenges, okay, slept on the problems, and even became partner in that systemic crisis by borrowing from the banking sector 39 trillion Syrian pounds, 2.7 billion US dollar, which caused major liquidity crunch and major loss of trust in the banking system. In terms of payment system, we had at that time we had fragmented payment system linked to the mafia of the regime. In terms of fiscal agent, the role of the central bank, and because of the sanctions, has moved to the private banking system. So the central bank lost its role practically as a fiscal agent of the government. In terms of sanctions, when we took over, we had, I can say it, the heaviest sanction regime in the world. Worse than Iran, worse than North Korea, and worse than Cuba, the heaviest. This is the starting point for us. So what we have all start, of course, with working on the sanctions. What we have achieved on the terms of sanctions over the last 7 months took countries like Iraq 7.5 years with the presence of the American troops on ground to repeal. Still, we have issues with sanctions. It's not completely cleared up. So we worked on this and we achieved a lot. In terms of the vision we had from day number one, and which I had spelled when I visited the US. Actually, I was appointed on the 7th of April. We were here on the 10th of April. So that shows where our focus was, because all started with the spring meetings of the IMF and World Bank to be in touch and build bridges with the international community and international technical partners. So basically, what we have achieved in this regard, we managed to start building villages with IMF and World Bank, started talking about technical assistance, although it took them a while to move with the right speed, but starting point was in April. And we had explained that the catch-22 situation in which we were, and we managed to remove sanctions. In terms of connectivity to the world, which was part of the vision, I said when I was here in April, my vision for central bank is to have a modern central bank working according to international standards, with the central bank leading the Syrian financial system to integrate for the first time into the global financial system. What we have achieved in terms of monetary policy, we have achieved major progress by introducing a new currency. This gave us the opportunity for the first time to know our monetary base and start to manage our monetary policy based on real, verifiable facts. In terms of financial stability, we did not wait like other countries for IMF to come to us and tell us what to do. We did not, usually, in countries, most of the time they call IMF because locally they are hesitant to take the decision. So they want to base legitimacy of the decision on the IMF being the technical. For us, we knew what to have, what to do, and we took the right decisions in September, which was very brave decision, and asked our banking system to to take provision for our exposure to Lebanese banks, which is like 1.7 billion US dollar, and asked them to take full provision against non-performing loans, stage 3, what we call stage 3. So that was very bold decision. We thought that it's necessary. And now we are in a position after 6 months, we gave them 6 months. Now we're in a position to start second wave of banking reform, financial sector reform. In terms of payment system, we have engaged with international companies such as MasterCard and Visa to modernize our payment system. And we are progressing very well with both of them in terms of our payment system. In terms of our fiscal role, we're trying to get it back. But this requires progressing in terms of the sanctions, in terms of reaching out. In terms of conductivity to the global financial system, we have managed to regain SWIFT, but many think that SWIFT is sufficient. Actually, SWIFT is a necessary condition, but not sufficient. There is a lot of work to be done on top of this. Now, of course, the main challenge for us is reform of the financial system. And one of the points when I was appointed and discussed with His Excellency the President is that to have private and public banks on equal level playing field,
Right.
subject to the same rules. This is, of course, easy to say, but very challenging to implement. And I would like to thank my brother and colleague, His Excellency, Minister of Finance. He has been a great help in this. We have same vision regarding the public sector, because in the past, it was use the public banks as way of financing the budget, other than printing money and other than deficit financing through getting facilities from the banks and the borrowing from the public banks to finance subsidies. We have achieved a lot, but what remains is much more.
Yeah.
We'll talk more during the.
If you allow me to say something
Please.
about the speed of our reforms,
Mhm.
it's much faster than anybody else if you compare relevant countries. Let me give an example. We were supposed to receive a mission from the IMF back in June related to reforming our tax systems. But because of the situation, they said we'll come in July. And then something happened, Sweden, North, South. They said we'll come in August. And then they said September. And then they called me, the mission will be in Damascus in October. They gave me the date. I said, no need, because we finished. We are able to reform our, I mean, some of the colleagues here that are part of the committee and the group that we created to reform our tax systems. And they came just to commenting on our reforms. So yes, we need IMF. Yes, we need the World Bank. And yes, we are open to all international organizations. There's a value of dealing with them, but we are counting on ourselves. We are counting on Syrians. We are keen to move forward fast as possible. And we need to make a success story, and we need everybody to take part of that success.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
what we have done also in central bank, for the first time, and our technical partners, they're positively surprised. We drafted our strategy 2026-2030, in which we have 5 pillars, 18 strategic objectives, and 75 projects / initiatives to reform the central bank. So now our technical partners, when they come, they don't have to care about the baseline. They come, we tell them that, look, we have these projects, which areas you feel that you can't fill or you have advantage. So in this way, by having this vision and this strategy in place, actually we are moving very fast. And it's only about managing the pace with the stakeholders. We need more support from external. We need more alignment from internal to move forward.
According to our priorities. According to our priorities.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Fantastic. I think this is a great segue for a minute to talk to Wael about how, especially as the finance minister said, with all of the partners, both inside and outside Syria, what maybe Wael, you can start by giving those of us who are unfamiliar with the Business Council, a kind of a brief look at what the Business Council does, but then also perhaps in a similar way, look back at how the council, formed in 2025, what kind of achievements it's accomplished over that first year, and what your vision is to continue this kind of engagement into 2026.
Thank you, Charles, and it's an honor to be with you both gentlemen here. It's a mini miracle, obviously, that we're having this conversation. I'm someone who worked on the Syria file at the State Department and Iraq for a decade, and I never imagined that we would even be in this environment talking about how to integrate Syria into the global economy. But here we are, and the Business Council essentially came together to support U.S. enterprises that want to do business in Syria, to understand how to navigate the Syrian market space, to connect to the right folks, to visit the country, to understand where the business opportunities are. But also, we're really keen on supporting the growth of the private sector in Syria, which has its own economic benefits, of course, but also has an impact on governance in the long term in terms of transparency, in terms of best practices being enacted to the global marketplace and ideas, and also to, from a macro perspective, to strengthen the bilateral economic relationship between the United States and Syria. The Syrian government prudently wants to be tethered to key allies and countries and regions, and the U.S. is one of them, as they diversify their relationships. And I think that approach is paying dividends right now, knock on wood. I hear that Syria is a bit more tranquil than almost anyone else in the region. And I am a Syrian American, and I think we have every right to celebrate that in this particular moment. But the council really is focused on bridging, connecting, and we've conducted a number of delegations to Syria. We have held roundtables on banking. We had a fantastic energy conference with our friends at the Atlantic Council a few weeks ago, where the head of the Syria Petroleum Company was here, backed by the full force of the U.S. government in the form of Ambassador Tom Barrack. And, we're looking at every sector and figuring out, all right, where are the opportunities for investment? Which American companies would benefit from that? How can we give them a fair shot in Syria? And vice versa, U.S. Syrian businesses, how can they access the American market and perhaps the global market? Right here in front of us are members of the council, many of them who we founded from the very beginning, who are, yes, they are taking a risk, but hopefully they'll be.
But they're not paying taxes yet.
Well, that's between you and them. But in hospitality and downstream energy and technology, some of them are building malls in Syria. Some of them are looking to open, bring American fast food to Syria. But all in all, that's a story we really want to see here.
But nothing will happen without the financial sector being
And
up and running,
No doubt.
and integrating,
and part of our mission,
and
part of our mission is to engage the U.S. policymakers here.
Yeah.
Particularly, essentially, the U.S. government has done something historic here in lifting the sanctions, taking a chance on Syria. I mean, President Ahmed al-Shara was in the White House and the president was spraying perfume on him, right? So that's incredible. But what we need to see now is the last mile, which is what? The easing of financial restrictions and of building corresponding relationships between American banks and Syrian banks, and the more inflow of U.S. dollars into the economy, which is, a real issue now. We're seeing a lot of businesses that are ready to come in with tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. They can't transfer that money.
This last mile is the most important one. It's like
100%.
the last 500 feet for the California gold.
Absolutely.
There's a song, sorry, let me say in Arabic will help me. أنير صباح بتقول وصلتوا له نص البير وقطعتوا الحبل فيها. So somebody translate. وضعنا هيك, yes.
What you can translate?
You got them all the way to the well,
Out of the well,
Yeah.
and then you
and then you cut the line. But here's the thing.
Nobody cut.
about.
Part of us hosting and supporting delegations from Syria, such as the minister and the governor and others, is to explain to policymakers that the lifting of sanctions, the removal of designations, the repeal of Caesar sanctions is all great.
Actually,
but this,
to be fair,
this fine line,
we are grateful for
Yes.
what they have done. We are in continuous discussion with and coordination with Treasury, U.S. Treasury, Fed, and the State Department. We are very grateful, and we are grateful for the American leadership in this, this regard. Absolutely, what happened is miraculous. But still, this like 500, the last 500 before you reach the gold mine are the most important. If you stop short of these 500,
I mean,
feet,
we have a weekly call with the U.S. Treasury, the Ministry of Finance. We have a weekly call, and it's about supporting Syria. It's not about putting condition or constraints. No, what can I do for you? What type of issues? How can I help you? Can I have issues with the World Bank? Let me see what we can do. So we are receiving a lot of support, and that's, thank you, Governor, for raising this. We are grateful for that. But what is this last milestone need to be removed.
Yeah, well, let me just on that note, and any of you could answer this depending on your take, but I mean, that last 500 feet, one of the big obstacles right now is still the state sponsor of terrorism designation, which obviously in Syria's history goes way, way back, and obviously, in my view at least, is not, it's not, it shouldn't be there anymore. But
this is just to reach the mine.
Right.
And then you have to develop the mine.
Yes, exactly. But let's reach the mine first.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason why I raise that is at least in our kind of Syria following circles in Washington, the rumor for a long while was that that would have been removed for this week. The announcement would have been upon your arrival that the SST designation was removed. We're not there. So I don't know if any of you, whether Wael from the DC perspective or Minister or the Governor, want to comment on that process. To what extent you're still
that
engaged?
process, there are two options. The first option takes longer, like 6 months or more, based on certification.
Right.
The second option takes 45 days.
45
days in case of major change in the regime, in the administration, in the country, subject to this designation. And I think this applies to us because there is major change. All those who were involved in the terrorism or were suspected of terrorism are not there anymore. Yeah. They left the country. So the world could globally sue them. But for us, it's finished.
Sure.
So that's why now, I think now we have to go with the short, because every day now, especially now the current Gulf crisis has proven that Syria could be an alternative for energy routes and for oil and energy corridors, for trade as well. So every day we are losing. And our history, actually, before them coming here, we were talking about this history of Syria is so much linked to oil and gas, the top line back in 1948. So we are back to reconsider Syria as potential route for trade corridors and for oil and gas, which is very important for Qatari gas and for Gulf oil as well.
Yep.
So now we are losing with this designation. Every day we are losing.
Right. Yeah, and presumably there are governments in the Gulf in particular who appear, I mean, the Saudis in particular appear already prior to this recent conflict.
Yes.
To have bought into this idea of Syria being this kind of corridor or route for everything from telecommunications to
It's
oil
for
flows
Iraq,
to trade.
and it's for Iraq and for
So
the Gulf as
presumably a
well.
lot of people are saying this now. That,
Yes.
Like now it's clearer than ever that this has to happen.
They are rediscovering the facts.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Please,
still
Jones.
optimistic that we can make breakthrough
Yeah.
in the coming days.
Yeah.
I'm not excluding progress. We have, I mean, several meetings today and after tomorrow and so on. And I think I'm still optimistic that some breakthrough in this direction could be achieved this week.
Good.
I remember
Yeah,
when we came last April with my colleague, the governors, our first meeting with the Treasury was in closed doors. Nobody knows. We went to a secret place and no announcement, nothing. It ended up the last day, they came to our hotels with a big delegation. So we are still optimistic. We are very clear in our vision. We want to be accountable what we are doing, and we want to be accountable our commitment to achieve stable Syria, integrity of financial sector, integrity of our financial systems. We are very clear, and we can show the deliverables. So I don't see any reason why not moving forward.
Just for context, here I'll remember my days in the State Department. I worked on the Iraq file, and unwinding the Iraq sanctions after Saddam was removed took years. I mean, when that's kind of the ugly underbelly of these kind of measures is sometimes it's pretty easy to put them on, very difficult to get rid of them. Having said that, Syria is a member of the counter-ISIS coalition now, which is again a surreal, historic development where, this government is now a partner against terrorism. And so it makes no sense for this designation to remain, and we hope that it will be removed soon. We're optimistic that it will be. And I think at this point, this is clearly a political decision from the administration that needs to come to the State Department to do it.
Even this designation, sorry,
Yes, go ahead.
Excellency, even this designation is hindering us from benefiting from what we have achieved. For example, with the Federal Reserve. With the Federal Reserve accounts, we have two challenges. We have the first challenge, this designation. Accordingly, we cannot use this account except for reserves management.
Right.
No commercial activities. Otherwise, once they are our funds with the Federal Reserve are used for commercial activities, the money will be confiscated immediately by the second, due to the second problem, which is default judgments. over the years, so many judgments have been, so many sentences, okay, have been issued in New York, okay, and those are hanging sword on the head of the financial system in Syria. So we need to deal with this. I hope that as my colleague, His
Optimistic
Excellency,
minister.
optimistic, we are optimistic. Yes.
Yeah,
But let me
yeah,
say
go
something.
We can celebrate this while we are here.
absolutely.
When
We reach El Dorado.
yes, we will. Again, when we met last year, and I mean, let's be frank, we are very transparent. They give us 8 points of issues that we need to focus on. And the governor was with me. I took the pen and said, 9, 10, 11. They saw that we will discuss why 8, why not 7, why not 6. I added more because it's our interest. We are reforming because interest of Syria and interest of our people to make Syria a better place. So we have nothing to hide. All this to enhance the stability of the financial sector, integrity, and so on. It's our interest. I'm not here to please anybody else. I'm here to make sure that we create Syria that is good for our kids and our grandkids.
Minister, let me just follow up on a slightly different issue, but one that I think encompasses, and I think you touched on it in your opening, which is this issue of trust and transparency, which I think, every single ministry in Damascus can probably say is a challenge that they have to recover from, given the activities and the behavior of the prior regime. But so again, as an observer of Syria, but also somebody who was there many times last year, it's very clear that there is still a gap between how the people think and how the people perceive ministries and their work, and how the ministries are working and what they are achieving and perhaps not yet achieving. But how, in your particular position, in addition to the citizens' budget, how do you work on a day-to-day basis in trying to bridge that gap? Because it's not going to happen at the click of a finger. It's going to be a process.
It's a huge gap in mistrust between the government, especially the Ministry of Finance, and the public sectors, and and the business community. It's a huge gap. There's zero trust, and that's built on long history of the Ministry of Finance was treated like an intelligent unit, just harassing the business community, harassing people, and in the worst way ever. They could just knock the door, open your drawers, take anything without any justification. So building the trust, it's our initiative. I said, I will not wait. I will initiate that trust. So gradually, and those friends are around the table here, they are aware of that. We have not done anything without consultation. Even then, when I wrote the tax system, I give them the pen, the head of the Chamber of Commerce and Chamber of Industry. This is the pen, write down the rules with me. And that's our practice. And we'll continue to do so. When I start doing some publication they said, don't do that. I mean, some of colleagues, because they're afraid of more transparency, that more headache, and people will start, criticizing what we are doing, said, no. When they said, don't publish the budget, I said, no, I will publish it. I will publish everything. We have nothing to hide. Full transparency. And we'll be accountable for everything that we do. So building trust is a long journey. It requires courage, it requires education, it requires awareness, it requires dialogue, it requires engagement. And let me tell you this, the tax authority, we have a board of directors of tax authority, which is purely government institution for tax policy. And I'm not sure there is a single country in the world they have done that. For the first time, 5 members of the board of the tax authorities from the private sectors. 5 out of 9, just to make sure we want to build this trust, we want to build this partnership, because we have joint interest. I believe at the Ministry of Finance, we believe that we are partner with every single businessman. We are partner with every single Syrian. We want everyone to succeed, and we'll do so to achieve that success. So 5 members, one from Chamber of Industry, one from the Chamber of Commerce, one from the media, and one from legal, and the other No? Yes, from the academia. So it's unheard of. I was able to use one article that allows, say, the minister allowed to add expert to the council of the board of director. For this word, I was able to add 5 to the board just to present the private sector. So we are very keen to build this trust, but it's a long way. Did we achieve what we want? Not yet. Not yet. I still believe that a lot to be done. Awareness is important. I think once we launch our tax regime in 2 weeks' time, now it's ready. We're going to do a big launch for the tax regime. We will do a huge awareness campaign, engaging everybody. And I'm looking here, and my friend is smiling. I look forward to see his tax money with a smile.
I
Inshallah.
think for us in the central bank and the banking system, it's more challenging than His Excellency's task. It's about show me the money. And the money, the first thing we have done, we issued on the 7th of May 2025 decree saying that any money deposited in the banking system could be withdrawn anytime, regardless of being current or being saving. So in the case of saving, or term deposit, they just lose the interest. That was meant to enhance trust. But again, we have challenges. The sanction, the SST is a challenge for us because now we have liquidity problem. This liquidity problem stems from internal and external. If you don't have transfer from abroad, we don't have the required liquidity in the market. And once we have these transfers operational and possible, then we will have liquidity coming from outside. Now we have liquidity internally, partly because of this, and partly because of domestic issues. Third, we are working with the banking system on customer experience, because why did we lose trust? It's about customer experience. Customer experience, if it's positive, it enhances the image, the brand. If it's bad, it damages the brand, the reputation. So the whole financial system was abused by the regime, and due to our connection with the problem of the Lebanese crisis, that led to trust on both sides of the border. For us, we are committed. I always say it. And yesterday I said this to my brother. Look, states never go bankrupt financially. They go bankrupt ethically.
True.
Our values are clear. We have been mentioned nation for thousands of years. And for any merchant, trust is its capital. A merchant could lose capital, could gain, could go beyond the water, but below the water, but at the end, trust is the real capital. And we are recognizant of this, and we are working to build this trust. But this needs, of course, the structuring of the banking system, building trust. Our real challenge is 3-way. Trust of the global financial system in our banking system. Trust of the Syrians in the Syrian banking system. Trust of Syrians in the central bank. A central bank who respects the rights of the people, who acts with responsibility in its conduct of monetary policy. I always say it, our real boss in the central bank is the Syrian people. They are our real major stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you. Well, did you have something to say? Let me ask a question which is bringing us more to the very unstable recent developments in the rest of the region that I think, as Wael said, have touched Syria much less than almost everybody else. But within that context, one of the questions that's been in my mind, and I think many others, is the extent to which the strain on Gulf economies, given the attacks on energy infrastructure, given distraction by geopolitics, is this a two-part question? A, how much do you think that's likely to impact Syria and the path that it has charted in both the bank's perspective, finance, and more broadly? And then the second part of the question is, we've already had announced major investments. And again, I raised the Saudi case the other day, at least $2 billion investment announcement just prior to the recent conflict. I guess this is more a question to you, Governor, which is when you have an announcement like that, and this is a question for the lay audience, when you say, SWIFT is insufficient, that we're reconnected to the Federal Reserve in New York, but that's, we haven't got yet to the Golden Bridge yet, or the Golden Well. When the Saudis make an announcement like that, does that mean they have a mechanism to get that money into Syria to invest? Or is it still at this point a statement of intent? And maybe we'll move across the panel and get everyone's reflections.
For your first question, we have been affected. We are part of this world, and we have to be transparent. And the exchange rate is a reflection of this. Yeah. It's a mirror of the economy, and we are following managed float. It's not big. That's why the exchange rate, however, our exchange rate has performed, the Syrian pound is amongst the good performers, not top performers in managed float in the region. Okay. Plus, we lost tourism. Damascus airport operations was suspended. Flights were suspended to Damascus. Remittances have been affected. The energy costs, the government has not increased the gasoline price. We are one of the rare countries which is not oil producing country in the sense we don't have millions. So still are net importer of oil. However, we have not increased. So we have been affected. But still we are working like anti-Masor. We are trying to absorb part of the shock and to make it smooth for our people because we don't want to increase vulnerability. So we are trying to manage it. We don't want to expose our people more because of energy prices. On the second point, definitely FDI is not possible without having fully fledged correspondent banking relationship with the outside world. All FDI announced will not find its way to Syria unless we manage to set clear, because most of these Gulf countries, they have interests through their corporate in the US. Okay, and with this designation of SST, this is hindering any American subsidiary or American corporate from doing business with Syria, regardless of the announcement. These are important and definitely good intentions, credible. But in terms of execution, nobody would like to go to the bank, transfer money to Syria, and then find his money hanging in between because of due diligence, because somebody sitting in some bank in the chain of the transfer process saying, look, Syria high-risk country. I have circular from the National Central Bank that Syria is high risk. My risk management says that we need to de-risk Syria. All these questions, okay, lead to making the possibility of this FDI at least difficult or challenging. And through the tour we're making as a central bank, we are visiting countries, our major trade partners. Always we find in the first meeting, those who come to the meeting are risk management, AMT. Usually it should be business development.
Right.
But with dialogue, we are progressing. But definitely, we will continue to have restrictions as we have this SST. And even with the removal of SST, this is not guarantee that we'll have smooth flow. We still need to build the trust. That's the faster removal of SST, okay, the faster the commencement or having healthy and strong and long enduring business relationship with correspondent banks outside Syria.
Got it. Brian, over to you.
I just want to, kind of reframe a little bit in the sense that Syria, in spite of these challenges, is probably the best frontier market in the world right now. It's a country of 24 million people that could easily become 30 million people with a higher birth rate and the return of refugees. Over 1 million have returned, by the way. which is historical in itself. Still a pretty educated labor force, a massively successful diaspora in the millions that has the potential for capital infusion capacity, as we've seen ourselves through the Business Council's activities and other engagements. And if you look at the sectors right now, these challenges clearly can become opportunities when you have good governance in Syria. Syria used to be the bad child of the neighborhood. Everyone wanted to avoid or at least pay off and just let them not muck around with their country. The opposite now is happening. If you told me a year ago that the Iraqi government would pay the Syrian government over $4 per barrel to ship from Kirkuk to Benias, I would say, or Tartus, I would say you're crazy. But that's exactly what they're doing to ship 650,000 metric tons of Iraqi crude to the Mediterranean. That's just one example where these opportunities present themselves. Now the idea of rebuilding that pipeline doesn't sound so crazy anymore. $3 billion, and you just diversify your energy flows away from Hormuz a little bit, and you're not at the whims of, what some countries may want to do there. And so that's just one idea. The reconstruction of Syria is the biggest reconstruction project on the planet. The entire planet right now, hundreds of thousands of units that need to be rebuilt, population growing, and you have an infusion of capital and interest in businesses, hospitality, agriculture, mining, phosphate. You have also, we just hosted the Minister of Information Technology here. They're talking about connecting Syria's fiber optics line from the Mediterranean all the way to Iraq and north and south. This is just an example. The Syrian government just signed a deal with the Turks and with the Jordanian government right now on improving the land route access and normalizing customs and visa entries. Again, I've been stuck on the border of these countries for hours in the past. And the fact now you can send these trucks, these lorries with fruit and products and technology is unprecedented. And so, yes, I think the banking issue is a serious issue, which I hope for American lawmakers as well as banks, they understand that there's money to be made in Syria that will have a political and security ramification to the benefits of everyone in the region and here. And that's what we're pushing for. I think that's what everyone is pushing for. And we're seeing it on the ground, by the way. It just could be a lot faster and better.
This is the business opportunity, Ziyad. I think back in like 20 years ago, I wrote an article after some research about the SST. At that time, SST, once a state is designated as a state terrorism sponsor, it cuts across, at that time, I have not updated this, 37 acts in the US applies to that state for doing business with that state.
Yeah.
37 or 38 country acts. So that shows how serious this designation. Yeah. Even our visa, we are still restricted. Last time, our friends in the council invited us to Baltimore. Imagine that I'm Canadian, but since I'm using my Syrian passport, I cannot move except within 25 miles.
He kept inviting us outside Washington.
Yes.
So we say so we had to say we're not able to come. But let me say something. Are those investments announced a real investment or not? I'll tell you, they are real investments from the Saudi, from the Qatari. They are real. Because they come to me, we issue a sovereign guarantee for some of them. But the current crisis slowed them a little bit. Mm-hmm. Of course, you need to be you evaluate your risk. But nevertheless, thank you so much for raising the opportunity. The current crisis, despite, as my colleague, the governor, said, impacted us negatively in some point, data clearly, but created huge opportunities. A huge opportunity by putting Syria back onto the map to connect the Gulf with Europe. And we've seen the Silk Link and the Bark project by the communication. We have seen, by the way, the discussion with the Iraqi for the pipeline, and it took place last October. Myself, I had some private meeting with the advisor of the Prime Minister of Iraq. But now, because of the crisis, it moved fast.
More serious.
So now there is a huge opportunity to replace Syria in what it's supposed to be, to connect between the East and the West, and to be a hub for trade, a hub for industry. And I think we need to seize this opportunity, and SST removal, it will open a huge door. Just, this is the last milestone. If we get with it, we'll be accountable. I mean, just give us 1 year and you will see.
Yeah, great. I'm going to ask one more question, which has also been asked by a few people online. But to all of you, please, consider if you have questions, I'm going to come to you as soon as we have an answer on this one, which is a substantial chunk of Syria recently came back under, sort of central government control. And of course, the northeast of Syria is home to vast majority of revenue generating streams for the Syrian economy. So I guess a two-part question to either to the governor and or the minister, which is, to what extent has that already had an effect? We've had the Syrian Petroleum Company announce already a 30% increase in production capacity on some of those fields, but also how has it factored into your planning for the coming year that domestically there is now a capacity to generate far more revenue than there was before?
Yes, I think the revenue increase, yes, but not substantially, because we need a lot of investment in Northeast territory.
To replicate
A lot.
the wells.
We have created 2 funds within the budget, and one related to rebuild what they call Al Jazeera and south of Syria. And that's, I think, 1.5 billion for 3 years, focusing on roads, schools, hospitals, infrastructure, basic services. Want to make sure that those people in Hasaka or Deir ez-Zor, where we are getting the oil, they feel the value and they are benefiting from what we are getting. Yes, every single penny coming from the oil and gas is in the budget, which is something that never been in the history of Syria. If you look at our budget, we are counting for every single penny, and I'm tracing the gentleman, the chairman of the oil company, every single day to revise his data based on the oil. So that's assurance. We need to be a government for all Syrians.
Right.
In all our policies and all our initiatives, we are not differentiating between Syrian in the east or Syrian in the west. All our policies should benefit all Syrians. That's why the first fund that especially for the Northeast territory. And the second one is for what we call no camp initiative. We want to make sure that, and we launched it this year, hopefully by the end of 26, we'll have no tent, and by 27, no camps at all. We're going to spend around $3 billion, some of that from the budget, and some of that we take some loans. But let me say something, that they say that we are not borrowing or we don't want to borrow. Yes, our intention not to borrow unless it's a concessional lending, unless it's service, a strategic project, social project, infrastructure project, where the private sector feels it's not attractive. So we are very much into this no camp initiative, which is impacting Aleppo, Idlib, and Hama and Latakia. Again, it's about $2 to $3 billion. I think a gentleman there, where Muhammad Amir, yeah, he's in charge of that no camp initiative with us. So we are very keen that our policy is inclusive to cover all Syrians. I'm not sure if I answered your question or not.
Sure.
I think
so.
from central bank perspective, first positive impact is on balance of payments. Because now those wells need development,
There's a
they need
contract he signed
rehabilitation,
tomorrow. He
but
said no,
we have
and we stopped
immediately
because
increased
we
our
not
production,
got
I think,
fair
within
share.
like a few weeks by 85,000 barrel a day. So this represents saving for the balance of payments, cash outflow.
Yeah.
And later on, when we cover our local needs and we have surplus to export, then we'll have possibility to cover our other needs for foreign currency, then to build our reserves, then to manage these reserves. So the potential is huge. Definitely we have a lot of needs, but still I consider, as it was said earlier, the east part of Syria, the oil is a checkbook of the government. I'm happy now as a banker that the checkbook of now the government has a checkbook. It's not about just ordering the central bank to print money.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
The credit
about
card.
checkbook. Yeah, exactly.
And we're gonna gain some interest on our deposit at the central bank.
Definitely, you pay on bet and you get.
Okay, open to questions. We'll begin over here. I'll just hold on for the microphone just for 1 second.
Hello, thank you so much for this. My name is Hala Marwan Sabah. And you actually just mentioned Deir Zor and that the government took control of the petroleum oil fields. My family actually comes from Deir Zor city. As you guys know, 80% of Deir Zor city is destroyed.
True.
You did mention that the revenue has not increased substantially and that we need investments and all of that. So in particularly to Deir Zor, what steps are you guys taking, are you willing to take to meet the needs of Deir Zor, specifically Deir Zor? I mean, of course, we're Syrian at the end, but 80% of Deir Zor is currently destroyed. So that's the question. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
Muhammad,
Yes.
this for Deir Zor.
Yeah.
How much we are planning to spend this year and next year in terms schools, hospitals, road, and some if you can.
Yeah, we can take the health sector as an example. The majority of the hospitals are going to be focused for Deir Zor, Al-Basika, and Raqqa, but mainly, sorry. Let me introduce myself. This is Mohammed Al-Amir, Head of Project Management Office with the Ministry of Finance. Regarding the initiatives of no camps, the major focus is going to Deir Zor in case of northeast of Syria. The health sector is focusing heavily on that regarding the public hospitals and the public health centers. We didn't focus only on the health. We took into account that the health need to be operated regarding also the schools, the infrastructure, water and sewage. I can't deliver exact figures, but trust me, a big pocket has been delivered or planned for Deir Zor.
We have increased also the allocation for the roads, especially to connect Deir Zor with the rest of the countries, to expand and repair some of the old roads.
Yeah, and we are also in the initial phase 1. It's going to be linked to other phases. The needs are really massive, but we are starting mainly with a basic intervention, multi-sectoral one.
So those people around the oil field, they could feel that they are taking benefit of the money that we are collecting from their lands.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll come here, please, and then the gentleman in the front. We'll take two together.
Thank you very much. Alia Mouayed, MENA Chief Economist at Jefferies. Your Excellency, I have a question for the Minister and the Central Bank Governor. Very interesting to hear that given your financing needs, you're concentrating on mobilizing concessional financing as a priority. Can you clarify for us if there is a plan for Syria to engage with the IMF in an IMF program that allows actually Syria and investors globally to see more clearly on the milestones for implementing these reforms, if at all? And to the Central Bank Governor, I fully agree. I mean, it's the centrality of the financial sector for intermediation. The question is, can you clarify for us what is the status of the discussion with the Lebanese government on the interrelationship between Syrian and Lebanese deposits and the progress on discussions in that regards? Thank you.
We'll just hold those two questions and we'll take one more on the front,
Okay.
just so we can try and tackle around.
Iyad Bitinjani, American Syrian Business Council and Bank Syria and Overseas Chairman. Allow me, I will not ask a question. I will highlight 2 points just, and we will try to be very short on that. First of all, what I want to say, this is the challenge that they are facing in the financial sector in Syria is not only building from scratch, they are being from -5 at Middle East. We never seen a financial report before, published in Q1 of the year. So that's already an achievement. What we see in this financial report is, okay, there is a surplus in the budget, which is great. A little surplus, but it means we have a surplus. We don't have the oil yet in it, so it's very promising for the future. The second point is for the central bank and the banking system. But banking sector for us, for the last 15 years, we were like, you know, you have to be You feel you're like a virus. Everyone know where you are, but nobody wants to approach because of the sanction problems and fines and whatever. So rebuilding this, it's a really a huge challenge, a difficult and very difficult project to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I can take that question. Thank you, Alia, for that question. Our relationship to the IMF is now focused on taking advantage of capacity building and technical assistance. We are not excluding further engagement. In fact, we are the one who asked for Article 4, not the IMF. They say, well, too early. Why are you asking? Say, no. And it's very surprising, the country coming out of a conflict and the minister and the governor requesting an Article 4. Despite I know what come in Article 4 in terms of criticism, in terms of shortcomings, in terms of things to be done, but we have nothing to hide. I kept asking Jihad Azur when the mission will be Article 4. Even I talked to the managing directors, and they were surprised that how eager that we want this Article 4 mission to come to Syria, because again, we need to publish. We have nothing. We need to show all the shortcomings, and this is the way for us to improve. So I hope that before the last quarter, I think the Article 4 mission will be the first time in Syria since, I think, whatever, I think 20 years or 25 years, I don't know. Even so, we have asked the IMF to do a DSA, Data Systemic Analysis. It's our request. Again, something that other countries used to hide data and information. We have nothing to hide. We give them all the data for the debt, and we ask for debt sustainability analysis, and we are very keen to engage with the IMF and World Bank and every single international financial organization on transparency, on trust, and on accountability. So, but do we have a plan to borrow from the IMF? No. I mean, we have some concessional lending available, and that's our focus. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Alia, for your question. We are taking a pragmatic, staged approach to resolve this. We started from our side in Syria. We asked Lebanese banks with Lebanese strategic partners to take full provision against their exposure. This does not mean write-off. The right is still there, the claim is still there, and it's as strong as ever. But from accounting perspective, there is full provision. Next step, we will start discussion with the Lebanese government. A couple of weeks ago, I received His Excellency, Ambassador of Lebanon, and I told him, look, we should have a difficult conversation with you. Okay, I'm a consultant and I know how to do difficult conversations. But what should be on the table is on the table. As Syrians, 4 generations.
I've seen him in the hospital after your meeting.
Sorry. 4 generations lost their savings and wealth in Lebanon. We lost more than the Lebanese. The first generation lost all their savings before 1965. You know, the first wave of Syrians who migrated to Lebanon with their wealth, okay, with their savings, was after nationalization. And those lost their wealth in the war of 1975. Then we have post-devaluation of the Lebanese pound. The Lebanese pound in like a couple of years went from 6 pounds against the US dollar to 3,000 in several years. And Syrians lost in this, okay? Then there was the last loss is with the deposits of 2019. So we know these facts, and this should be led, there should be discussions about it, and we will have, but before this, the most important one is discussions with the Central Bank of Lebanon about exposure of Lebanese Syrian banks with the Lebanese banking system, because those are deposits and those are rights of Syrian depositors, okay, who deposited money under the supervision of the Central Bank of Syria. So it will be phased approach, and we hope that now with what's happening in Lebanon, a new government will emerge, which would care more about rights of depositors and recognize that trust is more important than anything else.
Additional questions? We'll take Mohammed on the front and gentleman there in the back row, second from the back row.
Your Excellencies, Mr. Bernier and Dr. Husriye, welcome back to town. It's always a pleasure seeing you. You're two of the hardest working public servants in Syria, and we truly appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
My question is about inflation. A quick trip to any grocery store in Damascus now will quickly reveal that there is a significant rise in the price of basic commodities. Given that one of the primary functions of central banks is to help control or reduce inflation, to what extent has the central bank in Syria been able to exercise that role? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And we'll take the gentleman just here. Just take two.
Thank you. My name is Max Meislish. I'm a research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. I appreciate all that you're talking about with respect to the SST sanctions, which is a step that the United States can make towards Syria. I'm curious if there's any consideration within the government to take a step to also align with the United States with respect to its own sanctions. For instance, if the government might be willing to not accept shipments of grain involving sanctioned Russian cargo vessels, or anything similar to that.
Okay. Two questions.
Question to you.
For the
two
question of
for you.
inflation,
The two questions for you.
I'll take the second one.
you know, our target is price stability, and price stability usually in developed economies is inflation, usually inflation rate. We managed within 1 year to bring inflation rate from 117% to 15%. That was prior to the current crisis. Okay. And for the first time in the past, we used to have like 40 commodities for the CPI. We increased this to 398 commodities to measure inflation. And based on our measurement, the inflation rate at the end of last year and beginning of this year was 15%. In January, as I remember, it was 1.9% with beginning of the year. And with the crisis, of course, like anywhere else, we expect to have cost-pushed inflation. So now the figures are, it's evolving, it's work in progress, and we are part of this work. It's not like before. Now we are open to the world. So we expect inflation to be higher, and we should avoid, like any other country, to have stagflation actually down the road. This is a real challenge for us. So our target at the beginning was, as for price stability, was the exchange rate, because it's the anchor in the economy in the short term. But definitely in the medium to long term, when we have credible inflation figures, it will be managing through the inflation, targeting inflation rate.
But some of the increase of our prices are not justified, by any means. And I can give you so many examples. Ask my brother to bring a few things from Lebanon. He's living in Lebanon, and he forgot to bring them. So he bought them from the Syrian market. He bought much higher than what, and that's not absolutely. I mentioned that one time in the first day of Eid, I went to buy some of the sweets. I mean, from a well-known brand, Syrian brand that has branches in Jordan, Egypt, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, everybody. I was surprised that we pay in Syria much higher rate price than Dubai or Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
It's totally unjustified. And this is something need to be done. And there is a role for the civil society to play here.
Yeah. And Wael, did you want to tackle
I
the
don't speak
second
on
one?
behalf of the Syrian government, but
You can.
we're you know, them getting grain from Russia is in line with the Trump administration that just lifted sanctions on on Russian oil for 30 days. So, you know, it's the country needs to be fed, and they're feeding their people. You know, they're not going to deny shipments that are going to help, you know, an acute issue in many of their impoverished areas. And if there are other countries that are happy to, you know, transport these supplies to Syria, I'm sure they would prefer those alternatives.
It's not my job as a moderator, but I mean, that question has been put to US officials before, and they are not oblivious to it, but they also don't seem to think it's an issue either. So
It's just prioritization, and you know, if the Russians are sending weapons to Syria, that's one issue. But if it's grains to feed its people, people are going to let it pass.
We are monitoring the US sanction carefully.
Two more questions before we run out of time. So let's go to the lady in the middle at the back, and then we'll go to Sinam, second row from the back.
Hi, I'm Daniela Cheslow from Politico. Thank you to Charles and Wael for answering my phone calls over the course of time. A question to our visitors. You've been talking about how you govern for all of Syria, and in recent weeks and months, there's been reports about some kind of more conservative moves, whether it's crackdowns on selling alcohol in Damascus or on women wearing makeup in Latakia. What is the central government's role in pushing back on some of those conservative moves, if at all? And if not, is there any danger that there would be?
Finance.
Sure, but to take it back to your
We'll help you.
to take it back to your portfolio, is there any danger that if Syria takes a very conservative turn, that you might alienate foreign investors?
Let me say something.
We'll just take
yes,
this.
sir.
When you was last
Let me
time in
handle
Syria,
these two questions. Yes, sir.
so I invite you to come to Syria, and then you got the answer yourself.
I think the
Yes.
alcohol decision, though it's controversial, but it's just an update without any change. Okay, it has been there. And you know, even the US in 1929, there was total ban on alcohol. Nobody said that there are reports from the US and there are problems in the US. Just regulation.
I mean, we increased the tax
And
we increased the tax rate on alcohol and cigarettes, and also all other sugar-related products. So because of
and we
the
have to
increase,
put things in the
yeah,
right context.
somebody took this message as if we are anti-group of Syrian. It's absolutely not true. No. And this is what you are hearing is just a minor issues, a small, insignificant. I invite you to come to Syria and you witness yourself. And I will take you around.
Thank you, Minister. And just to come to Sinam there as well, please.
Yes, thank you so much. And I would like to, I'm Sina Mohammed, Syria Democratic Council representative to United States. I would like to thank all the efforts the government is doing now to raise the level of the people in Syria. As we know, for decades, we have a lot of problems. My question is, I'm from Aleppo city. I'm Kurdish, by the way, but I live in Aleppo. And we all know Aleppo is the most industrial city during many years. And now all the factories, all the industries have been destroyed.
True.
And how can, we know also that industry was focused on two big cities, Aleppo and Damascus. How can we support the industry section in Syria and to make this industry not only in big cities, but to be flourished in all over Syria? For instance, in the northeast Syria, we have a lot of sources. We can make a lot of industries there. And we have to support our people there in Syria. And I don't know if you have any plan for those people who lost their industries in Syria and want to build it back again. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Thank you for this question. I think we don't have a plan. We have an action that's been taking place already. I mean, the president issued 2 weeks ago a presidential decree that allow us to provide. There are over 30,000 factory being destroyed partially or completely. So we issue a decree to provide incentives could reach for 100% tax removal for 4 years. So anyone now with a factory need to be rebuilt will receive this 4 years removal of all taxes, all type of taxes. Not only this, we have another presidential decree is to provide a sort of incentives to settle their debt toward the public banks. So if you are an owner of a factory, you have some bad debt with the banks, we will settle that with you with a fair settlement. At the same time, we'll give you taxation, whatever. At the same time, we are issuing, I mean, the Industrial Bank of Syria soon will issue a special facility targeted those industrials that they need help or some financing to rebuild their factories. So that's an essential part of our thinking. And I think not only this, so many coming decisions and circulars and degrees and laws will be targeted how to rebuild the economy, how to activate the economy, how to support our industry, and want all this left Syria, especially from Aleppo, to come back and to build their factories. So I could assure you that we are not talking about plan in the document. We are talking about action. It's been taking place, and hopefully next week we'll issue the التعليمات التنفيذية bylaws of those presidential decree to facilitate the engagement with those who their factory being impacted.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else for final thoughts?
I have one thing to say.
Please.
Despite our focus on attracting investment, building airports, building roads, attracting 5-star hotels, our focus on poverty. And this is something that we cannot build Syria without fighting a problem to fighting for poverty. So the government is issuing a 10-year plans to reduce poverty from 70-80% to 25% within 10 years. This will be launched in coming 3 months. Now it's been under discussion among the governors, the ministers, and the business community. And this is something we are proud of, because the real achievement for Syrian is to take our people from poverty to the decent life. Thank you.
I think the conflict on Syria has a global impact on all countries, immigration, all sorts of troubles. Now, prosperity and peace in Syria, I think, is the global public good.
Send it to you electronically.
It's of global interest. It's not, though it's our responsibility first and above all as Syrians, but it's still a global public good. And we have to recognize that this change which happened in Syria is just next to the fall of Berlin Wall, literally speaking. And there are a lot of opportunities after the December 8th liberation for all the world. And when we rebuild Syria, we do it with the sense, not just as, we came back to Syria I came back from Canada. I don't see that I'm just serving Syria. I'm serving the world. We have interest in having the Middle East as a region of prosperity, because the region has suffered for the last 100 years of conflicts. We were born with bombs. When I was at AUB, I remember after I left 2 years, whenever a door was closed, I used to just react.
So nobody close the door, please.
No, it's just, you did not leave this experience, and how you don't leave it. When you wake up, and then just you have to go down in the basement, and you wait, looking from the basement with bombs over the international American school in Beirut. I hope that nobody would live this experience. I worked with the Red Cross. I used to be in the governing board of the International Federation of Red Cross, and I've seen a lot of conflicts all over the world, but no conflicts lasted like 100 years, like this series after series, series after series. So I hope that the Middle East will enjoy, their people deserve better life, deserve better leaderships, like what happened in Syria. I hope that countries with conflicts will have leadership which realize that the first and most important mission is to give prosperity and peace to their people.
The whole region. The whole region.
The whole region.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just quickly say thank you so much again to Minister Barnier, Central Bank Governor Syria, Wael, a good friend, of course. You're always welcome here at the Middle East Institute.
At any time. At any time.
Thanks, Charles.
And thank you to all of you for coming.
Let's take a picture together here, standing up.